Hi, everyone. Karen Roby and Daphne LaPrance-Ronguet here for ZDNet, talking today about the AI systems, these algorithms in the workplace specifically, Daphne, and, whether or not this is helpful for employees or possibly discriminating against some. What are we learning here in terms of, I know this is based on a new report that you've just recently got your hands on. What type of decisions is the AI actually involved in?
So yeah, as you said, it's this new report shedding light on the increasingly high stakes decisions that AI systems are making in the workplace, specifically about employees in the workplace. And what this report shows is that these AI systems are increasingly making these decisions that they're more and more pervasive in the workplace, whether we know it or not. So some of these systems make decisions about the employees that could be about redundancies or informing decisions about who should be made redundant. We have even simple things like automated absence management systems, which are there really to log the absence of employees. But imagine if one of those systems logs an absence wrongfully, that might affect, for example, a performance review. So that's an example of not an AI making a decision, but informing a decision later on in an employee's career in a way that might be discriminatory or unfair. One of the most striking examples of AI systems being used for high stakes decisions is probably the AI systems that are used when it comes to hiring, the hiring process. So we've increasingly got algorithms that are used in the early stages of the hiring process, for example, to scan through piles of CVs looking for keywords and essentially getting rid of the candidates that do not fit the most basic requirements when it comes to a job application. So again, we've got examples of those systems being discriminatory. One of the most infamous examples of this was with Amazon, who deployed one of those systems in the hiring process, in the early stages of the hiring process, and it turned out that it was a biased algorithm and it was biased especially against women. So what this report shows is that we've got, on the one hand, this increase in those automated systems, and on the other hand, we've got laws that are supposed to protect the employees, and there is definitely a gap there between what the laws do and the pace at which those automated systems are being deployed in the workplace. So there are many loopholes, many gaps, and many ways that the law is failing to protect employees against the increasing deployment of automated systems in the workplace, and of the increasing decisions that are informed or made by automated systems that might affect employees sometimes wrongfully.
And I would say, Daphne, of course, so many things have changed with COVID, as we know, and impacted how and where and everything in terms of how we work. So how has COVID impacted this?
So it's definitely had a huge impact on this, as you say, the rapid digitization of the workplace, which was triggered by COVID, which forced sort of lots of people and workers and entire workforces really being switched to remote working overnight. It's also led to the deployment in some cases of remote monitoring. So employers wanting to keep an eye on their employees even from a distance have started deploying those tools that can track what employees do exactly while they are at home. So those tools, they range from just logging the hours that an employee has spent working, to monitoring keyboard strikes, or even sometimes in some cases taking pictures through an employee's camera just to check that they are sitting behind their desks. So varying degrees of invasiveness, obviously, and it might seem a bit too invasive and might seem like a bit of a stretch, but actually recent reports have shown that 1 in 5 businesses are deploying this type of remote tracking technologies or are thinking of deploying it. What's even more worrying in this case is that it seems that this is done without the knowledge and therefore without the necessary consent of the employees who are being snooped upon. Only 1 in 3 employees, 31% of employees, are consulted before a new technology is deployed in the workforce. And yet 3/4 of them think that they should be consulted and think that it is invasive to deploy these technologies without informing them before. So yeah, again, we've got this parallel trend of the tools being used more and more without the knowledge of the employees, which again is a failure in a way to protect them.
So in terms of the legal framework here, laws, Daphne, what is being suggested? What needs to happen to better protect employees?
So the first thing is obviously keep the employees in the know, is making sure that they know what tools are being deployed against them or about them, I'd say, in the first place. That's probably the most important thing, is for workers to be able to access more information about these tools. So one of the things that is recommended by this report is to have, for example, a registry that employers should have to keep by law, in which they'd have a list of the different AI systems that are deployed in the workplace and how they work, so that this is not deployed in a way that's not transparent. Workers should have a right to ask for a clear explanation about those tools. For example, they should be able to know exactly what data is being collected about them. So yeah, really this first legal requirement should be about transparency and making sure that workers know. But it also goes hand in hand with a right to appeal. So workers, when a decision is made about them or informed by an algorithm about them, and if they feel that the outcome is unfair or discriminatory, they should have the right to ask that the decision is made again by a human. So a right to appeal, a right to human review. As I said, this goes those two ideas really go hand in hand, because you can't appeal a decision made by an algorithm if you don't know that the algorithm was making or informing the decision in the first place. So those are two things that need to evolve together, but they are only the start to a legal framework that really needs to be implemented at pace in order to keep up and stay up to date with the growth, the fast growth of AI systems and automated decision making in the workplace.
Yeah, and I would suggest, or excuse me, I would suspect, Daphne, that most people have no idea that that's what's going on behind the scenes, that it is in fact not humans making those decisions. Well, Daphne, I know you have the full report in your article there on ZDNet, and we appreciate you being with us here today. And for all of you who are watching, thanks so much.